Well, I mean, I think we've had a pretty similar experience going round there. What, what kind of made you most uncomfortable?
Well, I think the standout exhibits, if you like, the one that gave me literally the hairs in the back of my head stood up and I felt shivery right through was the human hair.
Yes, I found that almost too difficult to look at.
And then over in another corner there's the fabric from Germany that was made from human hair that had been sold from the camp, and they'd managed to trace the poison into the follicles of that hair, tracing it right back to the events that happened here. And, you know, it's just one of those places that, you know, if it wasn't real, if you didn't know it was living history, you wouldn't believe that it was possible.
I mean, obviously, I know about the scale of the crematoria and the people that were murdered in that, but that cell block 10, 11, the wall where so many people just trundled out of the building, I should imagine kind of rouse out against the wall and shot. And because I'd read about it going down into the basement where they initially just shoved people into a room and left them for as long as it took them to die of starvation. Some of these crimes, they weren't one step removed. I mean, they were incredibly hands-on murders. And I just found that chilling.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the starvation was quite moving, but the one small chamber where 4 people had to stand up, and you know, obviously they've removed part of the wall to allow you to see it, but there is still one there. And that Robert, our guide, had actually spoken to a man who'd been in the one that remains, the end stand-up cell, and he was able to sort of recount that, you know, you were brought in here and punished and then sent straight back out to work the next day.
Yes.
And the sheer scale of the terror, it's just, for, you know, and to people in the modern day, I think it's difficult to actually associate the human mind capable of doing.
I think we both feel we were very, very fortunate in the guide that we had in Robert. And I just think also it was the way in which we were able to extemporally ask him questions where an anecdote of his own experience as a guide came out. Just the fact that he was moved occasionally by meeting somebody completely out of the blue who had been a survivor, or a young man who'd come back, who'd been, or was a young man here but he hadn't been able to be with his father when he died, who just wanted to locate the space he thought his father had died in, and to stand there and say goodbye to him. I mean, all that must be very, very difficult, but I mean, he was fantastic.
Well, he was, and the one story that he told, which really touched something inside me, I'm not quite sure exactly what that was he was taking a tour of people around and he noticed a gentleman with his sleeve rolled up and had the number tattooed on his arm.
Yes.
And the man noticed him noticing and asked him not to say anything, don't tell the other people that I'm a survivor. But at the end of the tour, he actually said to everybody, and of course we've been really privileged today to be in the presence of a survivor. And clearly Robert had taken the survivor around in a manner that he believed actually did sort of relay what his own experience was, you know, kind of a factual account of the way he experienced Auschwitz, and that Robert was able to do that now with confidence and relay that story. I mean, certainly I found that quite emotional, because I think for Robert, he found that quite touching.
I mean, you don't need to come here, I think it's important, you don't need to come here to understand the Holocaust, but my God, the brutal inhumanity of it is absolutely brought home to you when you stand in this place. I mean, in a way that no picture, no television documentary, no book can really illustrate. You really do feel it, and on a day like this, I think you just appreciate how bleak and desperate it must have been.
No, you don't need to come here, but we do need to relay the message of this place, which is that man is capable of doing this to other man, and that, you know, good people have to stand up and make sure that it doesn't happen again.
Okay.